And welcome to this special edition from the APP. It's Immersed TV. And ladies and gentlemen, on the show today, I have the one and only, the legend himself from Denmark, Casper Steinfath. Thanks for joining us today, Casper.
Thanks for having me on here, Drew. Good to see you.
Oh my God, I feel like I haven't seen you guys in so long, but I tell you what, you look great, and I hear things are going really well for you.
Things are going pretty well over here in Scandinavia. We've had a nice winter, and I got to jump into one of my dreams last week with doing another crossing. So life is good. I can't really complain much here. Lots of good stuff happening.
Well, let's talk about this crossing because we're going to call this the Crossing 3.0 because you've done this on two previous occasions. And this is no joke. I mean, this is 120 kilometers. You've done it the first two times on SUP. We've pretty much talked about that. But this time you decided to do it on a SUP Foil. Tell us how that all kind of came about, Casper.
Well, I think my, growing up in Scandinavia, we grow up hearing legendary tales of the great Vikings, and, it's kind of just in our DNA of dealing with cold and harsh conditions here. And for me, over the last 3-4 years, I've had this fascination of doing these projects where I define the goal and, try to cross these legendary oceans. First, I tried to cross Skagerrak on my SUP, which was the ocean between Denmark and Norway. And that was the first and second crossing where I failed the first time and succeeded the second time. And then what just happened last Sunday was the ocean of Kattegat on my foil. And if you ask me why I did it, I'm still not entirely sure what the deeper motivation was, but I just love obviously flying on the foil and trying to break boundaries and do rad stuff.
So I got to ask you, you guys obviously have all the seasons in Scandinavia, correct?
Yeah, we have all four seasons, yeah.
So why do you decide to do these crossings in the winter? And you have icicles hanging from your beard and all that. What is the reasoning behind that?
I think, doing the crossing to Norway was obviously a little bit more winterish. The one I did to Sweden the other day, actually, it was not that cold. It wasn't freezing at least. But I just enjoy the harsher element. It's never pleasant being on a rough ocean, but I enjoy the challenge of, trying to deal with the cold, the temperatures as a factor. It's kind of like ascending a mountain in the winter or against not the easiest route. It makes the challenge harder, and it makes me have to push myself even more. So not everyone's going to understand it, but for me, it's just that extra level of challenge.
Well, that answers a lot of questions. And let's talk about the preparation that goes in for one of these crossings. You hear the most common one is Molokai, the Molokai event, one of the biggest crossings, most famous. And a lot of preparation has to go into this: training, diet, nutrition, all that stuff. Why don't you talk about how you prepared for this particular one?
Well, for this particular crossing, the idea for it already appeared several years ago, but it was only really at the beginning of this year that I became very specific that I wanted to do it, because obviously the competition season being kind of pushed back, it gave me the time to fully focus on this one. So I went into a mode where I just focused on a bunch of foiling. I did a bunch of cardio, running, stand-up paddle race training, gym work. And also to do a crossing of this magnitude, and you got to remember it was 120 kilometers. It's like doing an ultra marathon of some type, and it requires also knowing the conditions and the gear. So I spent, I don't know, probably hundreds of hours just testing different foils and reading charts of weather and ocean currents. So I guess the way to put it is I immersed myself and just made it my goal to make the ocean of Kattegat my best friend.
And I'll tell you what, I did the math here, and you could see Casper in that video, kind of pumping to get that foil going. And in 120 kilometers, and I could be off by give or take 100,000 here, but it came up with 850,000 lunges that you did to cross that crossing. That's phenomenal. I mean, CrossFit, you need to take a step aside because this whole training method. Talk about what it was like going across, making the crossing. What was the swell like? I mean, just give us sort of an example of how it started, maybe how it was during the middle, and then how it ended.
Well, to put it like mildly, I think the conditions were far from perfect. In my mind, at least, I had dreamed of this incredible downwind that would just keep going and going. You know, just straight downwind, full gas. Problem that came about pretty quickly was that the weather forecast that we went for was actually more of a sidewinder. So essentially, I was actually kind of going sideways to the wind and the bumps most of the way. I've never done the Molokai to Oahu paddleboard race myself, but I just imagined, you know, having the conditions not be optimal, and it was, yeah, man, it was not perfect from the beginning. The bumps were from the side, and as I got closer to Sweden, the wind even died on me, and the bumps disappeared. So I was pushed to my limit from the get-go.
And let's talk about the last portion of that crossing, because things kind of changed. Like you said, you mentioned there, and you had to kind of change up your strategy a little bit. Not really the way you wanted to finish. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, well, but before going into the final part, which was kind of the detrimental part, it's also important to understand that the conditions were epic at certain points out there. Like, there were some pictures I saw where I was flying past the windmills out there, and that was kind of that was surreal, like dancing around these huge wind turbines, which generate all this, you know, electricity. So there was a lot of good energy out there, but what happened at the end was 10 kilometers or so before the coast of Sweden, everything died. All the energy disappeared, and I was left like sitting almost, I felt kind of naked, just me and my board, with Sweden somewhere in the distance. And yeah, I thought it was game over at that point.
Let's talk about your coach, Magnus. He's been with you for a long time. He really helped you through this crossing there at the end. Why don't you talk about the influence he's had not only on your career, but your personal life?
Well, I mean, Magnus and he's kind of like, he's my mentor. He's my coach, and we met 10 years ago when I started my career, and he's kind of stuck along as my mentor since then. The thing is, he's more than just a coach. He has a very unique perspective on life. He's very performance oriented, but also kind of very curious. Like, he doesn't assume that he knows what is best. So the way we work together, he's kind of the mad scientist with the theory and the ideas, and I'm just the guinea pig that kind of, tries his training methods and so on. And the way he really helped me on this crossing was actually those last 10 kilometers where I was paddling, down on my stomach. There was no wind, it could not foil. And then out in the distance, I saw this guy come paddling towards me from Sweden. Like, why are you leaving Sweden? That's where we're going. But he came paddling towards me, and I could see his technique from very far away because he has a very special kind of cross-country-ish stroke style. And then he came out, gave me a hug, and I just had tears in my eyes. So happy that he was there to kind of escort me and give me that power to finish the crossing. And so we have a very special bond, and so happy that he actually decided to paddle towards Denmark to pick me up.
You're going the wrong way. Casper, let's talk about the APP World Tour this year. Some amazing stops have been announced. What are you most excited about for the tour this year? Is it just getting back to racing and surf, or is it about the camaraderie? What are you most looking forward to?
Well, I think there's no doubt I'm just most of all looking forward to seeing the people again. I miss the family aspect that, all the athletes and us and the staff. We are kind of like a traveling circus family when we're normally competing. But I miss that, and definitely having a year and a half off tour has reinvigorated a spark from my side to get back on the start line as well. And yeah, I'm just generally excited for it to be back, and to go some new places as well, but see some old faces that we've shared a lot of good experiences with. And plus, I guess I have a title to defend. I have to remember that as well.
That's what I was going to get at. I mean, you have a title to defend, number one, but I think there's some, like you brought up before, there's some amazing locations. What location are you most excited about for this season?
Well, I'm definitely excited that we're going back to Hawaii again, to Maui. I had a lot of good memories there, racing at Hokipa. There's a lot of places on tour I look forward to going back to, and definitely to eat some croissants in Paris again at the end of the season. That's that's how I usually know that it's the end of a year when we're in Paris.
Well, good. I'll tell you what, Casper, thanks for taking the time to join us here on Immersed TV, and I know you got some training to get out to, but hey, congratulations on that major feat. I mean, that's just incredible. All of us here, we're cheering you on the whole way, so congrats.
Thanks, Drew. Appreciate it. See you soon.
Casper Steinfath, reigning world champion, ladies and gentlemen, coming back to defend his title this year at the APP World Tour in 2021. And great man, I give him all the credit. So that does it for Immersed TV here at the APP World Tour. Catch us next time, but also follow us on all of our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the channels. Plus, we got TikTok going now. Tune in. See you next time.